Good morning and welcome. This is BizCheck, time to make sense of shillings and cents. And today we're going to be putting a lot of emphasis on youth and opportunities, including jobs. And where do they sometimes go wrong? To be very honest, the world of work is changing in an unprecedented pace. And looking at artificial intelligence, automation, green technologies, digital transformation are reshaping industries, are reshaping the way we do things. Yet Kenya continues to grapple with a high level or high levels of unemployment, whether we're talking about education system, producing talent, we're talking about experience, all that. That is what we will be focusing on this first hour. We'll be focusing on training, on the future of work. Of course, technology and more specifically AI has not only automated but has also made some people jobless. So which is the way forward? And allow me to introduce my panelists this morning. He's the National Director, Young Scientist Kenya YSK. His name is Dr. Engineer Victor Mwongera. Karibu sana, engineer.
Thank you so much.
I don't know whether to use engineer or doc.
any goes.
Any goes.
Or you can use Victor. You know, these days I don't hear my name Victor.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yes, doc, engineer.
It's doc or engineer, yes.
All right. Thank you so much indeed for making time. And for the purpose of the interviews, just like I mentioned, the second hour we will be focusing on Africa Youth Survey and, of course, addressing unemployment in the country. So if you're a young person, opportunities when it comes to experience, when it comes to job on train, we will be talking about this for the next 2 hours. Although in the second hour, we will be engaging a different panelist. So, Bwana Engineer,
yes,
kindly tell us about YSK, its mandate, and its connection to the topic of the day today.
Okay. So thank you very much, first of all, for having me. Young Scientist Kenya, YSK, we are a STEM impact non-profit organization. Mm-hmm. So what our core mandate is to encourage young people in the high school space, and this is now junior school and senior school students, yes, to take up STEM courses, to develop STEM innovations that help to solve challenges in their local community. Mm-hmm. And we do that through various programs. Just very quickly, I'll talk about, we have an outreach program. This is where we go to a county, to a school that we've partnered with. We invite other schools and we tell them, come and hear what we have from YSK. So we talk about what we do for the exhibition, which I'll talk about. We also go with partners who come and demonstrate. And we also give them career and mentorship advice. Mm-hmm. Then we also have our annual exhibition, and I would say that is our biggest program, mm-hmm, where we encourage students from all over the country, very many different communities, very schools and so on, mm-hmm, to submit abstracts of projects, you know, ideas that they have. And the only requirement we have is that, you know, they be STEM-based. Mm-hmm. So students come up with different projects from different areas, solving challenges that they face. And we take it through a vigorous judging process, very independent judging process. Mm-hmm. I actually have no part. I do not know what happens until the end. Mm-hmm. And then the finalists come and exhibit in Nairobi. Mm-hmm. This will actually be happening next week. So this year we are having about 308 students coming to exhibit their projects. Mm-hmm. And of those who exhibit, we have different winning categories. We have about 46 students who win. But just to mention the overall winners, because we partner with Ireland, mm-hmm, the overall winners get a scholarship at Strathmore University, which is one of our partners, and they also get a trip to Ireland in January, where they go to view an exhibition similar to ours, actually what ours is based on, in Ireland. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is it a government institution? I've noticed you're the National Director, then we have Young Scientist Kenya.
Yes. No, we're not a government institution, okay, but we started off with a partnership between the Embassy of Ireland in Kenya and the Ministry of Education. Mm-hmm. And of course, when you're dealing with education for underage students, it, mm-hmm, is very important to be aligned with the Ministry of Education, mm-hmm, just because of child health, child safety, mm-hmm, and the regulations that exist.
Thank you. That is Dr. Engineer Victor Mwongera has given us a brief introduction on exactly what they do. So we also would want to weigh exactly what are your views and some of the questions on our social media spaces. Now we delve into the interview. Much welcomed. My name is Bentro Njoe and Caro Wangeshi. Caro Njoroge, I beg your pardon, is the sign language interpreter on the bottom of your screen. Now, on to our topic of discussion now. When we talk about the future of work, what exactly does it mean when it comes to Kenya?
A very good question. So, of course, unemployment is a very hot topic in Kenya. And the education sector it gathers a lot of interest, rightfully so, because education is a very key pillar of any country choosing to develop. So when we are talking about the future of work, what we are looking at is the way we educate our young people. Are they ready for how the world is evolving? I think everyone has seen of late, the audience especially, is that the word AI has moved from being a buzzword to being the word for everything. Yeah. I think if you'll see that even when people are applying for jobs, if you're not putting AI somewhere there, then you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. But outside of just using it as a buzzword, what does it mean to train someone to be able to use this emerging technology that is coming out? So that is the future of work. And at Young Scientists Kenya, one of the things we are trying to do is within the STEM space, because AI, of course, falls within the STEM space in technology. We're trying to ensure that students have as broad they're as broadly exposed as possible to what is happening in the world. And even those who train them, their teachers, those who mentor them, the communities around them, understand what the workforce is demanding today, what it looks like it will be demanding in the future, so that they begin to think of these things at an early stage. It's no longer enough for you to start training yourself at the beginning of university. You know, you're going to be competing with people who have started much earlier. So that's why we focus on the high school space. And we start as early as junior school. Yeah.
And I'm looking at industries in Kenya, looking at, for example, a couple of years back when the introduction of computers, a lot of jobs also went with the computers. Now we are seeing AI. And I will give you a practical example because I've seen in China, they are mulling over having an AI news anchor, which could be a threat to someone like me. So when we talk about Kenya,
yes,
which industries in Kenya are likely to experience the greatest interruptions?
It's an interesting question because it's hard to quantify which industries will have the greatest interruption. I think the way to look at it is that AI will be just like any other technology that comes in. Like you mentioned, the introduction of computers.
Yes.
At that point, word processing came in. And there was a very big worry at the time that, you know, jobs are going to be lost. All these people who are trained as secretaries, as clerks, people who prepare documentations and briefs, especially in the legal sector, were worried about what is going to happen. But it's not a case of everyone lost their jobs. It's that people retooled and retrained. Because you see, the core skill is still necessary. So someone who was, for example, in charge of writing briefs for everyone on a typewriter was now brought in the sense of being a paralegal in the legal space. The same in academics, the same in manufacturing. It's that we learn to adopt and we learn to take. So even on your side, when you say a news anchor, an AI news anchor, I don't think then you'll lose your job because you cannot just leave this news anchor to just produce content and vet and everything.
They have robots. You've seen in China, they're coming up with the new things each and every morning.
Yes, yeah. But it is. In your example, it is a case of yourself. You know, how do you understand what this AI is going to be used? Because there's very many different ways it could plug into the newsroom in the production space. Yeah. So it's just a matter of having that skill so that, you know, you do not fall behind what is the future or what is coming now.
And looking at STEM subjects, and we were looking at subjects that even when I was in school, I didn't quite love the sciences as I loved the other subjects.
Yeah.
But we are looking at now jobs that are having a lot of automation. Which are, from your view, which are some of the jobs that are going to remain relevant with this automation?
Relevant. So I think, of course, the automation itself is going to make a lot of processes that are in organizations and businesses reduced. And that is not necessarily a bad thing. I know it sometimes feels like, yes, this technology is coming to replace our jobs, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a matter of how much time do you spend on daily tasks that could be easily automated to free up your time. Because the way to look at this, Ben, is that it's not that it's coming to replace your job, it's that it's coming to give you more time. And for a worker, time is the one thing that you cannot add. You know, you can always add knowledge, you can always add skills, you can always add people to assist you in your team, but you can't add your time. 24 hours is 24 hours. So AI is coming in to automate some of the things that you would spend a lot of time doing on a day-to-day basis. I mean, for example, I imagine how many minutes do you typically spend reading emails every morning? It's a lot of time, isn't it?
Yes.
Because for me, it is a lot of time.
Yeah.
So you can have, there are tools now which are integrated depending on which platform you're using, which is able to summarize what is coming in, and you're able to pick which is the one you need to give very high priority very quickly. So, you know, that frees up about 15 minutes of your in the morning.
Yes.
So on to other things, to preparing a document, you know, doing something that you do all the time. Someone asks you to do a pitch that you do all the time. So you have the template, all you're doing is customizing to a client. Those kind of things that you're able to quickly automate so that you're able to free your time to do things that only you can do. Yeah, so that's the way to look at it.
Yeah, let's go back to the young scientist. And I'm looking at STEM being a paramount derivative of what exactly you guys do.
Yes.
And how do we improve the uptake of STEM courses? Because let's be very honest, just like I said, not many students love sciences and mathematics.
So I think that's a very good question, because that feeds into the core of what we're doing. The first thing, and why we still do outreaches quite extensively, is knowledge addition, exposing of students to what STEM means.12 in our outreach and in our target group of students, because we work with about, I would say we've participated with about 250 to 300,000 students. This year it's about 25,000 that we've done in the outreach. And most of them, when you tell them STEM, they go to the default, you know. There's engineering, there's medicine, what is the other one? And computing these days. Yeah, that is what STEM is known. Yeah. But STEM is much, much wider than that. You know, it is the technicians and technologists. Even in medicine, it's not just a doctor. You know, there is nursing, there is radiologist, there's cardiologist. There's all manner of courses that they don't know. There's all manner of opportunities. So when we do outreach, what we're doing is we're telling them STEM does not have to boil down to these subjects that are believed to be the highest that you have to get an A. There's very many options depending on what your passion is. And we've seen that work time and time again. Actually, there are some students who went through our outreach last year, and they were not going to choose a STEM pathway. They were choosing other pathways. But from our outreach, they were able to say, oh, wow, there are actually some things that I want to do in STEM. And they ended up choosing a STEM pathway, and actually ended up coming to Nairobi and reached out to one of our programs officers and said, you know, it's because of you that we did that. So once you do that exposure and so on, the other thing that we do is this exhibition. And the reason we put a lot of emphasis on this, because our exhibition, like I said, is something that we benchmarked from Ireland. They have been doing it for 60 years. We have been doing it for 9 years. Next year it will be 10th year. But for them, they have used it for the last 60 years to inspire students that they can create innovations. You know, sometimes as a young learner, you think innovations are going to be created by someone else, you know. But when they try, when they come up with an idea, they build a prototype, they bring it to the exhibition, they display it. You get senior people coming to view your project, being impressed. We've had in the past all the way from the president and deputy presidents to ambassadors to heads of industry coming, and they query you and they're very impressed by your project. And then you end up winning and being recognized. That does something to a learner. It opens up their mind that actually this is a possible pathway for me. Yeah.
And also, still on STEM, it's quite different from what we have CBE and what we had earlier on, 844, a little bit different on the approach of education. And STEM we have putting so much emphasis on STEM. But the question is, has our education system kept pace with the changing demands of the labor market?
It is an interesting question to ask. Of course, we have challenges in our education system. But another way to look at it is there any education system globally that is keeping pace with the labor market? because there's very, very few that are. The labor market is continuously changing. Kenya, like any other country, we have challenges and we need to address them. But one of the things that we try to do at YSK is not focus so much on the challenges. I know you want me to go that direction. Yes. It's to focus on what we can do to solve these challenges.
Yes.
So, for example, one of the things that we find schools struggle with is, infrastructure in teacher training. They might not have, in fact, teachers are actually very overloaded. They might not be able to participate in programs. So now that those challenges are there, what do we do as Young Scientists Kenya to assist in that system? So we have partners who we convince, donate some equipment and so on that we're able to donate to schools, and we see massive impact from that. We have partners who we get to fund programs where we are able to upskill in areas that are not covered in the curriculum. For example, we are close to finishing a program called Experience AI, which we're doing as a partner, called Raspberry Pi Foundation and Google. And that is training teachers to then work with students in terms of what is AI, what does it mean, what is it developed. We also have partners who are interested in now mainly the outreach, like it's not necessarily the content.
Just hold the thought, and in case you joined us, we are looking at focusing on training on the future of work, and my guest this morning is Dr. Engineer Victor Mwongera. Karibu sana tena. There's something that you mentioned before we crossed over to the Norfolk, that a partnership are quite essential. I did point out that we're doing this for almost 10 years. Countries like Ireland have done it for, what, 50 years?
60 years.
60 years.
60 years,
That's
yes.
a difference of over 50 years.
Yes, yes.
What more as Kenyans can we learn, or what are some of the lessons that we can be able to pick up?
We can actually pick up a lot of lessons from them. So for Ireland, when this program started, they were actually in the midst of an economic crisis because it's very agrarian society, but shortages of food, famine, and so on. And when this program started, the idea was that this encouragement towards STEM, towards innovation, will build the future workforce. They're the same people who will now build organizations, build processes within the workforce that help to develop that. And what that did, long and short of it, is that Ireland at the moment is actually the gateway for the EU for technology. You will find a lot of organizations have their headquarters there, Google, Meta, so on and so forth. But also, other than that, the exhibition that they're currently running, they had their sponsor for a long time as BT, British Telecom. And last year, they changed over to an organization called Stripe, which I'm sure we all know, Gateway Paper. And actually, the founders of Stripe were winners of the exhibition some decades ago. So they went ahead, formed a company, built it into a global multinational organization, and now coming to sponsor. So let's take that for Kenya. If we have a scenario where we put the focus that is required on this, as we're having the exhibition, we are able to have a scenario where the government is supporting and saying the winners that come out, let them maybe visit status like the ones of the music festival. Let them be recognized as part of the awards. Let them be given a channel, those who participate, let them be given a channel towards higher education. If we have a scenario where partnerships from private sector who are looking to build their pipeline for the future workforce, as you've mentioned, the future workforce, you want students who are more aware of what is happening. So you support Young Scientists Kenya exhibition so that those who come out of that eventually go into the workforce. Then we can have this exhibition growing to a point where it's not the numbers that we're talking about of 300, which are still high, but we're talking about thousands. When they do it in Ireland, actually the entire city is aware. All the hotels are booked, all the transport, everything is heading towards that. And that's what we envision for our side, that we have a scenario when this is happening in August, the whole of Nairobi is aware that yes, this exhibition is happening. We need to be heading in that direction.
Yeah, and let's look at digital skills, because every career now you have to have some level of automation or digital literacy. How important is digital literacy, despite regardless of which profession somebody is?
Yes, it is very important. It is true. It is very, very important. But it might also be balanced out with development of the individual. So there is right now a conversation happening globally that is slowly filtering into Kenya. that we have focused so much on, on before even AI, on coding, on digital skills, and then AI is coming in on how to machine learning and so on, that we've gotten to a point we might have forgotten what are the basics of education. And actually, like something that the Lego Education have put forward, in that saying, when a child is developing or when a student is developing, there are some core skills that develop despite the technology around them. You're developing their emotional intelligence, you're developing their creativity, their ability to problem solve, and so on. So what happened when coding became so popular is problem solving was replaced by coding. We assumed that because you can code, you are problem solving, but you're not really. So in the same way with this new technology of AI, it doesn't mean that the learners stop developing some of these skills, because otherwise there will just be people who sit in a room that either code or either are doing, setting up processes, prompting and so on, but they're not positively contributing and they don't have that pathway to grow. Yeah.
And it's a good thing you've mentioned coding. And should coding, things like robotics and AI, from where you sit, because you're also a scholar, should they be compulsory in school? Because I completed high school without even seeing my first computer.
Yes.
Yeah, but now it's everywhere in every school. Yeah.
I don't think it's a matter of making them compulsory. It's that we need to rethink how everything is taught to integrate these core skills. So, for example, if we're talking about digital literacy and coding, there's very many different subjects where that will fit in. Even when you're doing the arts, you need to have some digital literacy in your skill set. So, looking at it and saying, coding be compulsory, robotics be compulsory, that might not be the right way to go about it, because it's isolating this skill as an individual skill. But rather it should be built into everything the curriculum does, so that in the same way you're saying, just to give another example, it would be very difficult to say problem solving as a compulsory unit. How would you teach that? But rather you teach the student how to problem solve in everything they do. So the same thing with coding, basics of coding, even skills like mathematics and so on. When you say they're compulsory, it's not that they're compulsory, it's that it's a skill that everyone needs to have. Yeah.
And let's look at the role of TVETs, because currently, I'll be very honest that the PS for TVET, Dr. Esther Tharamoria, who is a scholar, it's a good thing that the PS is a scholar, he's doing a good job in regards to automation of TVETs and also the enrollment of, and also expanding of the TVETs. So how should TVETs institution, or what role should it play in ensuring that we are preparing young minds, young people for the careers ahead of them?
Okay. So for TVETs, I'll be very honest, because we tend to focus on junior school and high school students. When it comes to higher education, we still are linked to them in that we have partners who they join, and a lot of them join TVETs and some join universities and so on. But we don't do much in the way of working with TVETs to produce programs. But what I will say is that linkage between any higher education institution and the space we are in is important. And I'm giving this perspective from a role I used to have as a lecturer. When you have students coming into university, it is assumed that university will prepare you for work. But there is a lot of upskilling that is needed for this student to be ready to now receive the knowledge they should be receiving at university, at TVET, and so on. And it touches on some of the things we have been talking about: teacher skilling, problem solving, even soft skills like communication. Communication is so critical, and it is something that students are fortunately disadvantaged. They're not able to pick up in the younger years. In university, if you're focused, you are able to pick it up, but it's not, even in TVETs, it's not necessarily prioritized. So you see, these soft skills now tend to lock out certain people from being able to progress, to being able to get jobs, to be able to create, and so on and so forth.
Research and innovation. It remains underfunded in the country. Is Kenya investing enough in science and technology from where you sit?
It is not investing enough, but I always say that if we were investing enough, the target would increase. But some positive strides have been made. There's now a State Department of Science, Research and Innovation and the PS there who will actually be attending our exhibition is very active in this space. I'm very confident we'll get an increase because he's always saying we need to increase.
Yes.
Yeah, let me not put too many words in his mouth, but
Yes.
I'm just quoting him. But yes, we need to invest more in science, research, and innovation because we need to build our solutions. You know, Ben, a lot of innovations that are built out there, even in the space of AI, when you see models, when you see solutions that are built, they're built, of course, for the country where the person developed, for the region. They're not built for here. And what that means is that these innovations inevitably have a gap. We need some workaround to be able to fully utilize them. It seems much better if we were able to build these innovations here on ground. Just to give an example, just a small part of all this AI conversation, in terms of data acquisition, there's many spaces that people are struggling with data acquisition. One of our alumni is actually having a company called Signverse, where they are having an AI translator, but they're trying to address the challenge of how do you address the different dialects. You know, the dialects in Europe, German, French, and so on. Then you come to Kenya, you know, Kikuyu, Luya, there's different dialects. So how is this AI going to understand what is being spoken here and what is being spoken there? And if it's translating, is it going to be also translating a dialect that even you will understand, because you don't necessarily want to hear an accent that you're not used to. So they are working on that, and that is an incredible innovation. And that is from the fact that they've realized that this innovation is not built for Kenya. It's built, the ones that exist are built for out there. They want to build something for Kenya and for Africa.
And still on skills, because there was this conversation in regards to those who have completed high school.
Yes.
First of all, they need to go to the NYS, have some discipline, and also improve their communication skills before now they venture into, you know, other careers. Could this maybe be one of them? Because the National Youth Service institutions, they have a lot that these young people can benefit from.
True they do. But I think that's a conversation that requires a much wider audience before we start going that direction. Some countries have done it. Israel does it very successfully. Kenya used to do it. But
Even South Korea.
Yeah, even South Korea, yes. So, but for us to change how we are doing now, to change to that, it might be a much wider conversation because everyone has different personal feelings about that. But I don't think we need necessarily to even think about going extreme to NYS. Not that NYS is extreme, but we don't need to change to a mandatory space. I think what we need to do is change first our mindsets of the young people and even their guardians and parents, that there are skills they can pick up outside of the formal education system, because that would address some of the things you're talking about in communication, in discipline, and so on. I think when you go for, when you go for a job between high school and university, there's a lot of discipline that comes in there when you're forced to report, and it is for you to control, not the headmaster controlling, not the teacher. You are the one controlling your time. That is where discipline is built in.
All right. Now, how do we stop our best researchers or best innovators or best talents from leaving the country? Because we might hear, I might be interviewing Dr. Mwangera today, and in the next couple of weeks, we hear that he has a big job in Ireland for a big tech company.
Interesting. So actually, interesting background. I actually did have a job abroad and came back.
Okay.
Yeah. So
at least you came back.
I came back, yes, and it's for the reason of patriotism. I realized that I'm building skills and knowledge in another country, but I'm not building these things in Kenya. And that is how I've ended up in this space of youth development and mentorship, because I believe we need to build the next generation. But that being said, I think if we want this innovation and things to stay here, we have to build an ecosystem that encourages these people. Currently, in the space of research and innovation, we're not doing very well. We're actually not doing very well. Institutions of higher learning used to be very strong in encouraging researchers. But of late, they have not been doing as well as they should, which is one of the reasons I left. There used to be encouragement in terms of, if you bring in funding for an organization, you are paid part of it, just like sales commission for someone who is working in sales. There used to be encouragement in terms of, we used to have research festivals. We used to have a lot of innovations being sent to market. That becomes possibly a commercial channel for the person who's built the innovation. So all those things are things that we need to bring back. And there are people working towards that, but if we create that environment, no one wants to go to live in another country, I promise you. And we all want to stay where you know your mother is here, you know your children are here.
Yeah.
You don't really want to go and relocate to somewhere where the weather is different and so on. But you just need to have that climate, that environment that works for researchers.
It's a good thing that you pointed out the private sector is doing more than what many governments are doing. So how can government strengthen the collaborations between universities, industry players, and also innovators who are coming up, the young innovators who are coming up?
Yes. So I think for government, they have to look at it as they are enablers. They create an environment where these collaborations grow. And we have been working with the Ministry of Education for a long time, which we're very grateful for. But we can always make that partnership stronger, you know. Next year when we're having our 10-year launch, I would love to, and I will be looking to have, you know, a very strong partnership through the ministry, that they're coming to say that these innovations, you know, these students who are doing their work and who are building innovations are actually people that need to be focused on. Because, you know, when government is able to say that publicly, it brings that spotlight to that young person who is innovating. They could also make a scenario where value is shown in terms of these young people who innovate. Not necessarily in putting even budget, just like I said, in putting a spotlight on it. I keep coming back to this because this is something a lot of people in the STEM space ask. Why is it that the winners of Drama Festival and Music Festival go to State House every year?
Yeah.
But the winners of what used to be called Science Congress, which is now called KSEF,
Yeah.
don't go. And it's not that we're saying no one should go. We're saying these ones should also go. Because if you want to put that focus on STEM and innovation, then put them on the same level and saying, we value you. Because that visit is actually something that is very impactful to the students and the teachers. So that is how the government can develop that.
Yeah. Still on students, the Form 4s are watching as they're at home now, and university students today, which some of the careers you would encourage them to pursue?
So I think choice of a career starts from what are you passionate about. Because a lot of people say, you know, look at what is popular in the market. And I think that's the step two. First, you start from your passion.
Yeah.
You can, yes, do what is popular in the market, but if it is something that does not speak to you, it is going to be difficult. So you're looking at, you know, like you said yourself, maybe you didn't enjoy the sciences.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense to go towards something that is technically heavy and so on. If you're passionate towards sports, then you're looking towards that direction. Even if you're not a good sports player, there are technical roles within the sports sector and industry that are open. You know, there's journalism in there, of course.
Yeah.
There is, within the space of broadcasting, there is the space of sports science, which is huge, biomedical engineering. So starting from what you're passionate about helps you to narrow down now what you should be looking at. And from there, after that, then comes looking at what is being valued in the sector, not just now, but going forward. So like right now, the conversation is of course on AI and everything. But, you know, also doing your own research and finding out what are some of these organizations looking to, what are some of the biggest players in this space looking to do. Like if Oracle is talking about they're building a huge data center, what does that mean in terms of the jobs that they will be having? What will they be outsourcing to Africa? What does that mean in terms of the pipeline that will need to be growing in the next 10 years? And finally, I would say also engaging with organizations such as ours, Young Scientists Kenya and others. There are many, many others out there. We are always putting out information on what we think will happen. We work with a lot of partners who come to our exhibitions, to our outreach. They talk about what they think will happen. So, you know, the more informed you are, the better it is. Yeah.
And how can institutions like yours, Young Scientists Kenya, bridge the gap between research and industry?
Well, that is an interesting question, and that is an area we've been working towards.
Yeah.
So of those who win our exhibition, like I said, there's about 23 different awards we give, which is about 46 students, give or take, every year. We have a winners boot camp. And the idea of that is to address exactly what you're saying. So someone has won, they've created an innovation. So what is the next step towards getting that to market? And so some students, when they come to this, or rather all the students when they come to this, what we try to do is we try to expose them as much as possible to the basics of what you need to do next to build a business. Some of the things you've not thought of, you know, if you need to understand finance and so on and so forth. But also we try and expose them to those who have actually built a business recently, especially our alumni. We stay very close with them. So we invite them to come and talk about, you know, how they built their innovations to the next level. But then we also give them a pathway of those who necessarily did not continue with the innovation, with that innovation itself, but then went on to work in spaces where innovation is important. So providing all that together, then for that 1 week bootcamp, that brings those students now to a different level of how do I now think about what I did? Is it something that can be taken in the market? If that is the case, what do I need to do next? And finally, what we also do is we have a partnership with KBC in terms of intellectual property. Now, we also provide for the students a channel of if they want to register their ideas for IP, but also at the same time educate them on what the difference between IP and an idea. You know, sometimes people think an idea is IP. I want to intellectually protect this idea. You're like, you can't protect that, you can protect a solution. So all that together is what we are doing to address that gap between the innovation for the student and getting it to market.
Let's switch gears a bit now. What opportunities exist in a green economy and also in climate innovation? Because this is a field, that a sphere that I'm seeing a lot of interest. We just held the Africa Climate Summit, and each and every year we have the COPs, we have a lot of things. So there are a lot of opportunities when it comes to matters climate change.
Yes, yes, I think they are. They are what you would call the direct jobs, like what you are addressing. More and more, I'm sure you've seen in organizations, they have the metric that's coming in of ESG, of which one of them, the S, sustainability, is becoming a very strong metric. There are actually sustainability awards other than the international ones that are being driven nationally that various organizations aim to win. And that role of a sustainability lead in an organization is becoming more and more important because usually it is someone who is in charge of ensuring the organization is thinking sustainably and reports more often than not directly to either the CEO or COO or someone high up. But outside of those direct reporting, because those direct reporting jobs, to be honest, are few. They're not as many as one would think in the market. I think what is more important in that green economy, in developing that green economy, is do people think sustainably from the beginning? And that is something that we have been working with for a long time with the students. We actually have several awards which look at sustainability and green economy and so on. But I think one thing that we could do in our Kenyan education system, which we really need to do and very, very urgently, is we need to change sustainability from being just something that you begin to think about as you're exiting university to being something that is trained in you from a very early and very young age. It needs to be something that, if you look at other countries and economies that have done it, even kids at 9, 10 years old are thinking about sustainability. They're thinking about things like recycling because it is ingrained in them. I don't know why we don't recycle when we do all this trash collection, but anyway. They're thinking about when you build a solution, like which materials are you using? Are you using a material that is recyclable or are you just using a one-off plastic? They are thinking about things like when you package things, even when they package things and carry things around, are they using reusable bags? And those kind of things. Like it's a mindset that needs to change. And I think a good starting point is in how we train our higher education students. This should be a core unit. You know, education, we talk about this communication, and there's the HIV/AIDS awareness, which I don't know if it's still being done. But sustainability needs to be there. Everyone needs to change their mindset on that.
We have talked about the government and what the government should do. Let's look at the private sector. What role should the private sector play in mostly education and also training? Because at least YSK is doing something.
Yes.
But it's not enough in the sector.
Yes. So I think for private sector, it is in the best interest for those who are in education to be trained in a certain way and to a certain level of quality. And if that is the case, if these private sector organizations are looking to do this, then it is necessary for them to partner, or rather to engage with the education space to ensure that what they're looking for, comes out in the pipeline. So, for example, this year we've had a partnership with Absa Bank, and their interest was in the outreach. So, as we were doing outreaches in the various counties, in Baringo, we did in Kitui, in Kwale, and so on and so forth. So they were looking at, can we get the branch managers who are in that area come and talk to these students about what they do in Absa in that region, some of the products they have, but at the same time, what are the careers that the branch is looking for as they're hiring. Because you see now that for that it becomes not just Absa at a high level, it becomes at their branch level, what are some of the things they're looking to get from the people who are in the area, which means that now a student is saying, oh, actually in this organization, they are looking more, for financial accountants. So I should train in that because the branch manager said that is something we're looking for. So that's the partnership that really helps private sectors.
Yep. You're watching Channel 1 Biz Check, where we are looking at, we are focusing on training on the future of work, but also keeping tabs on what is happening in the country. And the Nurses Union, Kenya National Union of Nurses, is about to address a press conference on the countrywide nurses strike, where we will be crossing over. So you better watch out for that. But still continuing with this conversation, the president the other day just announced that when it comes to tertiary education, university, TVETs, the government will be assisting students in a way that has never happened in the country. And from where you sit, could this be the silver bullet for young people to take advantage of, and especially when it comes to STEM?
Yes.
Away from the politics.
Yeah, away from the politics.
From the politics,
yes.
yeah.
So I think we need to see what this assistance will be, because it has been announced. So of course now comes the methodology. Yeah. But education in any society is the silver bullet. Education being affordable to everyone is of benefit to everyone. It is as simple as that. So it is excellent to see that this priority is being put forward. We see how it will be implemented and so on. But tertiary education for a long time has not been prioritized as it should have. And it has led to a very, very, very strong decline in the quality of education, unfortunately. So we want to see what will be next. And I think if the government does support how the president said that he's going to support, that they put support for every student, so that finances stop being a barrier, then I think we will see quite a change in the education sector and even in the employment sector.
Doc, you also you've been a lecturer before. You are a scholar.
Yes.
And you're looking at the university. Are they reviewing the curricula quickly enough? Because things are changing very quickly. Are they changing or adjusting the curricula quickly enough to match the industry needs?
So, well, let me say that I can't really talk about my past employer because there are some confidentialities there. Yes. But let me speak generally on education. I think all education curricula in university could do better in terms of being better linked to industry. For example, because I'm an engineer, of course, engineering is what I know. If you look at the countries which excel at engineering, Germany being one of the high ones, the linkage between private sector and university is so strong that you actually don't know where one ends and one begins. Because people who, if you get into a certain university for engineering, it's actually guaranteed that you're going to have options of 1, 2, 3 jobs in that organization. And that's because they have links so that the education sector ensures, or the university ensures, their training matches what the industry wants. And the industry also ensures that as they are developing and gaining their targets and so on, they're also looking back at what the pipeline for their future workforce is. So they're able to work in synergy. So I think in Kenya, that's what we need. We need very strong links between industry and education sector. And unfortunately, they've been delinked for so long that even industry is hesitant to come back to this side because they assume that education is doing what they're doing, we are doing what we're doing. So that gap in between, unfortunately, hurts those who pass through these higher institutions.
Talking about higher institutions, I'm looking at internship. The government has 1-year internship programs that spreads interns from various learning institutions to different institutions, including our very own KBC. How important are these skills that these people get for maybe a couple of months or 1 year, just as the government is doing?
I think it's very important. An internship is a very important thing because it helps to give some of this.
Just kindly hold the thought. Let's cross over. And we are on the tail end of this conversation where we are focusing on training on the future of work. Dr. Engineer Victor Mwongera, I'm still with you here in studio. And because of the interest of time, allow me to just ask what policies would encourage more innovation and commercialization of research?
An interesting question. Actually, I think, do you mean policies in public sector or? Yeah, public sector policies.
Yes, the public sector.
So I think one of the things that would help is if we had stronger rewarding and recognition of innovations locally. I think if we had a scenario where we had these innovators who go out, win awards and so on, like last year we had Kenyan students who made it to the Microsoft Imagine Awards and won. You know, in Kenya we didn't have anything to recognize that. So those kind of things, I think when they pass by the wayside, they tend to not encourage that innovation, and they tend to encourage innovators to look for partners, channels, and pathways outside. So we need to localize our pride and our recognition of our innovators.
And as we wrap up the future of STEM, you know, we really need to encourage a lot of students really focusing much on that, because as we are looking at the world, a lot is changing, and more specifically is changing in the tech world. So I would like to pick your mind in regards to how maybe we can improve these numbers.
I think it's through students getting exposed to opportunities. That is how these things change. So for next week, because we're having the exhibition, and it's actually free to attend for the whole public. We don't charge anything.
Okay, that was my next question.
Yes.
How and what exactly should we expect?
I'm expecting to see you there, Ben, actually.
Yes, so, I would like to cover
So
that.
from Wednesday 5th to Saturday 8th, we will be at Moi Girls, just behind Prestige Plaza off Ngong Road. And it is open to the public. And we have enough space to accommodate even if half of Nairobi decided to enter. And the reason I say that is because it is not just the parents who should be coming. It should be the parents and the young people. Especially for those parents and guardians who are thinking, how do I, now that I've had this conversation about STEM, I've had this conversation about AI and so on, how do I encourage this young person? How do I get them to see there's that spark? So let them attend the exhibition, come with them. And especially on Saturday on the award ceremony when we're awarding the students, I think that is where you get the best idea of what is possible out there. So that is what, to me is one of the best ways to encourage young people today.
What will be the take home? Because you've asked us to come with our kids.
Yes.
What are we bound to benefit from, especially the kids and the parents as well?
Yes.
Because you've asked for the two of them.
Oh, no problem. So, let me give you an example of my kids, because I took them to the exhibition last year.
Yes.
So when you take them there, you know, they come with a preconceived mindset of what they can and cannot do, like mine came. They thought, you know, the things that we can build are in what you build in class with paper and so on. So when they went and saw what other students have built, granted they are younger and the students are older, but when they saw things that have been built and they're being built, things are being demonstrated, when they saw what our partners were demonstrating, because last year we had Safaricom who had a very big selfie phone screen, when they see all these things, then they come home and say, now I want to build a plane that can take off vertically, or I want to build a tree house here. You see, the ideas and their spark is that they start thinking outside of what they thought their previous boundary was. So that is what I expect from now. If you bring, for example, your kids, if people bring their kids, or parents come, they get to see and realize the boundaries they had put for themselves for innovation are actually made of paper. The boundaries are much, much wider. Yeah.
Are we charging?
We're not charging, free of charge. If someone charges you, tell me. I'll leave you my number. There is no charge to enter. Yeah, it is free for the whole week.
Of course.
Yeah.
We need to take a quick break, but commercial break. But when we come back, we will be wrapping up on this conversation. And of course, we also looking into addressing unemployment in Africa on the second hour. That is a conversation that we're going to be having in the second hour. But we need to also wrap up with Dr. Ari here. But let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Channel 1 Biz Check. We are looking at focusing training on the future of work. Just as mentioned, my guest, Dr. Engineer Victor Mwongera. We're on the tail end of this conversation, and I would like to know, many young people are creating their own enterprises, which is very commendable. During our time, very little was being done in regards to that.
Yes.
But from where you sit, should entrepreneurship now be treated as a core career path?
Yes. In terms of, I don't know if we'd put it in those words in terms of core career path, but entrepreneurship is very critical to any economy. So I think in Kenya generally we have, for a long time we were under assumption that, and it was true for a while, that government was the biggest employer, which it's not a sustainable way to go.
Yeah.
Private sector actually should employ more than government. And within private sector, it is the smaller organizations, the SMEs, that actually tend to drive economic growth. What does that mean? That means that entrepreneurship has to be a critical component of any career progression option that you present to a population. I think we've moved away from the idea, 10 years ago we used to think someone who is doing entrepreneurship, is a guy of the ground and so on. It was not respected. I think we've moved away from that.
Yeah.
But we're still not looking at entrepreneurship in this country as the opportunity it could be. I think some of the policies that are put out there should be to encourage. There should be, there are some countries that actually say, if you're starting an entrepreneurship, especially if you're a young person, then the first 3 years, or either the first 3 years or before you get to a turnover of, let's say, 10 million shillings, you are completely tax exempt in everything you do.
Yeah.
You see, a policy like that builds an entrepreneurship culture, because it means someone who has an innovation knows they have 3 years to build this idea, to experiment, because you don't come out of the box being, someone who knows how to run a multinational. You come out learning it. So you need to give someone time. Those kind of policies, I think, if Kenya implemented things like those, we would see these innovations thrive. Because we want these innovations to become the point where they become huge employers, they contribute to the economy, and they therefore drive other innovations and continue the cycle, that positive cycle. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't put it even better than that, because during our time after high school, it's either computer packages or driving before you join the university or a TVET institution. But from where you sit, one reform that would have the biggest impact in preparing the young generation into the job market?
So I think one reform that we need to prioritize is how we how we prioritize our education system all the way from early stage through to the higher education. I think the different stages, because even this early career development education that sits with counties could be done better to prioritize that. It's supposed to be earlier career development. It is not done as well all over Kenya. Primary education needs a lot more resources, a lot more attention, a lot more support. When we come to junior schools, because we interact a lot with junior schools, students, teachers, and so on, and they feel like they're not getting the attention that senior schools are getting, because of course these are new schools, or this is a new part of a school that is still growing. They're still learning how to build the extracurricular activities that help. Senior schools, of course, we see these ones in news all the time. They need a lot more resources. So I think in that policy, we need to prioritize education. We need to have a scenario where we say education is priority number one, then others come, because that is what solves everything else.
I have some questions here, quick fire.
Yes.
Some of them have been sent by some of us who are watching, and also while I was preparing for this, somebody who asked degree or technical skills, because we have seen that there have been a huge uptake of technical courses and TVETs. I do remember this year where we had a number of people opting to let go of their degree and focus on TVETs.
Focus on TVETs, yes.
From where you sit?
I think it depends on which sector and industry you want to go. Because remember when you asked and I said it's about what you're passionate and what you want to study. So I think the myth of you have to have a degree, that one we need to bust it, because not every skill set needs a degree. Some areas need actually more technical skills. And let me give you an example, because my engineering space is aerospace engineering, an area in Kenya that is still developing, of course.
Yes.
Right now, the job market in aviation values more technical skills than degrees, because you have your pilots, your technicians on the ground, so on. It's more of a hands-on training. It doesn't mean that there's no space for degrees, but it is just more on that side of technical skills. So that means that if you're looking to go there, of course, it makes sense to take more technical skills. If you're going into certain areas, especially like engineering, now general engineering, that one is very much degree-driven, depending on the discipline. Like civil engineering is very strongly degree-driven, but doesn't mean that there's no space for tech. In fact, technical people make up a large part of the workforce. It's just dependent on which direction you're going.
And my final question, we were speaking with someone and he told me the way you see people in developed countries having 3 or 4 jobs every day, you know, a few hours, we are headed there. So which is one skill that every Kenyan must have by the year 2030? We've talked about the 2030 vision for so long. By 2030, which one skill should be learning by the year 2030? Because maybe I'll be having 3 jobs by then.
Yes. So I would say one skill that is essential to everyone that comes to mind is prompting. That is within AI. Because when we say AI, it's just general and everything. But there is this skill of prompting, which is how do you talk to this language model that feeds into everything, even how you plan your own personal things, you know, when you're looking for flights or whatever. It's a skill that is not as well known in the market as the buzzword AI. But it is something that I have seen time and time again in the job market. People don't know how to do it, and so they keep saying, this AI is useless, this AI is not helping, and so on.
They just use it like a search engine.
Yeah, just like a search engine. You type a keyword and send. But the reason I say that prompting is because as we begin to understand what automation means, as we go back to what you were asking before, jobs start being focused, and the people who are going to be able to use this technology, and I believe it will be everywhere. By 2030, there'll be nowhere where you're not interacting with this to some degree. The people who are going to be able to use it are the people who are actually going to be able to interact with it. So it'll be like the times when computing was becoming popular. You know, the people who are the most valuable are the ones who knew how to switch on the machine and load a program. At that time, and I know it's hard for our younger viewers to understand, at that time it was not a known skill. People are like, how do I switch this thing on? Where do I open my Word document? There was someone in the house who knew how to do that. In our house, that was me. I knew how to get the Word document. And therefore, I was very valuable in the house. So the same way, that is a skill that I think by 2030, it's going to be something that all of us should know.
I remember the disk operating system.
Yes, I remember it.
So many years.
Yes.
Allow me to give you your final remarks as we wrap up this conversation.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think as we close off, and thank you very much for having me here.
You're welcome.
I still want to reiterate and say that, you know, education needs to be a priority for us as Kenyans. Even as the government is working towards building that as a priority, and whatever targets they are having coming forward, we also need to ensure that we take advantage of opportunities that are out there. That is why I was inviting everyone to the exhibition next year. I mean, next week, sorry. There'll also be one next year, but next week, because it's an opportunity that rarely comes. I can't stress enough how much that exhibition has helped the country of Ireland, the Republic of Ireland. And if we take advantage of it, if Kenyans and young people take advantage of what is there available to them, then they'll be able to progress very, very rapidly.
Thank you so much, Daktari. I've been speaking to Dr. Engineer Victor Mwongera, who is the National Director, Young Scientist Kenya, YSK, and he's among the people who are really focusing on training for the future of work, because a lot of things are changing. And he says that the conference that you're having next week from maybe from the 5th to the 8th is a game changer for not only young people but also parents as well, so that you may be able to know exactly which career path your kid can take, because unemployment in Kenya, the ones we were talking about, and the topic that we'll be talking about in this second hour, is really on the rise. But thank you so much indeed for your time and for your insight as well.
Thank you very much.